In 1978, a 21-year-old bodybuilder with no experience in acting stepped onto the Incredible Hulk set. He was deaf. He was scared, and Bill Bixby mentored him. For years, everyone assumed they worked together minimally, but Lou Ferrigno recently came clean. Bixby spent hours offstage instructing him on how to act, how to move, how to emote. He shielded Lou's hearing aids from the green makeup. He even assisted him through 12-hour workdays that resulted in a third of the crew being ill or quitting. But the true tale is not one of fame. It's one of loss, anguish, and a friendship that altered their lives forever. In 1947, when Bill Bixby was only 13 years of age, something occurred within the walls of Grace Cathedral in San Francisco that individuals would be whispering about for years to come. At a choir service, when wearing his robe, young Bill quietly removed a slingshot and took aim at the bishop. He struck him right there in the service. This was not a kid's accident. It was deliberate. He was excluded from the choir permanently. That little choir stipend had been everything to his family. His mother, Jane, a senior manager at Magnin & Company, was struggling to keep their family above water after years of financial hardship. The scandal humiliatingly hurt their already tenuous reputation. But the moment also spoke something greater about Bill. He was not afraid of authority. He'd sooner disobey than remain silent when something didn't feel right. That trend would stay with him the rest of his life. Bill was 18 in 1952 and was being drafted for the Korean War. He was aware of the risks. More than 36,000 Americans had perished in the war. Rather than wait for the Army to call him up, he took a bold step. He joined the Marine Corps Reserve. He was stationed in VMA 141, a unit with a checkered past. 18 of its 41 officers were killed during World War II at Guadalcanal. Bill made only $95 a month as a private first class. That was less money than he could make doing any ordinary job, but being stateside provided him with an opportunity to live and to dream bigger. As others his age went off to war, Bill was handling personnel records at Naval Air Station Oakland, close to home. It might have saved his life and his career. The reason this was important all those years ago dates back to Bill's boyhood. Bill had grown up during the Great Depression. His father, Wilfred Bixby II, was nothing more than a store clerk with an $18 to $22 per week paycheck. That was around $350 to $400 nowadays. His mother worked for IMAG for about $35 to $40 per week. But still, it was not enough. When Bill was 8 years old in 1942, his dad enlisted in the Navy and went off to the South Pacific. That left Jane to care for him on her own. They lived in smaller and smaller houses. Bill frequently went to bed without eating. They survived on church food programs. That's why the choir money was so important and why getting kicked out stung more than his ego. In 1956, Bill quit UC Berkeley 1 credit shy of graduating. He was poor but resolute. He worked at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel for only $40 to $45 a week. That was not enough to survive on. So he also lifeguarded the hotel pool for an additional $15 to $20. He worked 12 to 14 hours a day and stayed in a small 8-week room down the street. He ate leftover hotel grub and spent whatever pennies he had on acting classes. But the Roosevelt was not a haphazard selection. It was a wise choice. That pool had been a draw for stars, such as Clark Gable and Marilyn Monroe. One afternoon, a couple of admin from Detroit spotted him there and invited him to become a model, earning $200 a week, 3 times his hotel room rate. His life was transformed in that instant. In 1959, he spent his final $75 on a bus ticket to Detroit. He had been invited to act in a stage production titled The Boyfriend. The Detroit Civic Theater only offered him $25 a week. His rent was $20, which meant that there was little to no money left for food. He lived on bread and beans and lost 18 pounds throughout the production. But that part provided him with something much more precious than money. Talent scouts saw him. When he returned to LA, they paid him $300 a week. That small $75 wager became a full-time career. With the money he had made at the Detroit show, just a total of $200, he paid for the classes at the Estelle Harmon School of Acting. And that is where an agent discovered him and signed him. Only 2 years afterward, he landed his first actual TV role on The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis. Next, in 1963, he went for an interview and stated, "Hi, I'm Bill Bixby." The producer Jack Churdick looked at him and stated, "No, you're not. You're Tim O'Hara." That is the way he was cast in the starring role on My Favorite Martian, which lasted until 1966 and was one of the top 10 television shows. It was ranked number 10 in the 1963 to 64 season with a rating of 26.3. But the labor was tough. Other programs taped 3 to 4 days a week, but this program taped 5 complete days with as many as 75 setups a day. They didn't have any rehearsal time, and they didn't finish one episode before being given the script for the next. Each episode took approximately $57,000 to produce. That part brought Bill stardom, but also caused him anxiety. Would he ever be able to shake off the persona of Tim O'Hara? To cut loose, he accepted low film roles, even non-credited ones. In 1963, he was a tattooed sailor in Billy Wilder's Irma Luce with Jack Lemmon and Shirley Mlamb. The film grossed $25.2 million and was banned from television for years because of its storyline. Although his part was small, he learned the size of big studio sets and networked with big directors. In 1967, he landed a role in Clambake with Elvis Presley as James J. Jameson III. But on the set, it was madness. Elvis had put on weight, fell in his bathroom, and bumped his head. The production was held up. Elvis was also unhappy filming another ridiculous musical. His entourage created a daily mayhem, pie fights, firecrackers, water wars. MGM had to issue warnings in order to keep the insanity at bay, but Bill remained professional. Elvis admired him, even taking one of Bill's favorite spoken word records, Softly as I Leave You, with him for performances years later. The film nevertheless hit Soca 15 at the box office. The following year, in 1968, Bill appeared again with Elvis in Speedway. He played gambler Kenny Donford, whose addiction had almost destroyed his friend's career as a racing driver. It was the first major film about NASCAR and even included actual racers, such as Richard Petty and Cale Yarborough. Elvis received $850,000 plus 50% of the profits. Bill's own character was multifaceted, imperfect, and emotional. It was one of the best performances in his early film work. About this time, Bill grew weary of merely acting. In 1970, working on the courtship of Eddie's father, he began directing. The series, on the air from 1969 through 1972, cast him as Tom Corbett, a widowed father of a son named Eddie. The acting chemistry between them and child actor Brandon Cruz was electrifying. He directed 8 episodes in all, among them The Karate Story, which was broadcast in January 1972. He was nominated for an Emmy in 1971 for that appearance. His method was cautious, perfectionist, and hands-on. He knew what he was looking for and drove everyone to achieve it. During that time, most lead actors could not direct, but Bill broke that rule. In 1976, he shocked the public once more when he took on the role of Willie Abbott in Rich Man, Poor Man, a man defined by greed and power. This was a dark character, a far cry from his warm, fatherly image. The miniseries was watched by 34.9 million viewers per episode, and he won another Emmy nomination for his performance. Individuals were shocked to be watching him play a morally corrupt man, but that is what made it so strong. Perhaps one of the greatest shocks came in 1973 when he appeared in The Magician. He acted out Anthony Blake, an actual magician who was a crime solver, and the unique part was that all magic tricks he performed on camera were real. No tricks, no special effects. He spent time with magician Mark Wilson and learned about sleight of hand, mentalism, and escape artistry. It ran for 22 episodes and brought the audience magic done the hard way. He also kept directing. In 1975, he also directed Mannix episodes, such as A Ransom for Yesterday, which was broadcast February 9th. It was about a $250,000 ransom, the equivalent of $1.4 million today. That show had 3.2 murders per episode on average, one of the most violent shows on television. But Bill's work directed less attention towards the violence and more toward the emotional consequences. He helmed 4 overall episodes, including a word called Courage and Hardball, demonstrating he was able to tackle gritty crime tales yet maintain them as human. In November 1977, Bill Bixby marched into CBS meetings with a strong insistence. He told them that the Incredible Hulk series would not be a dippy children's television program. He insisted it would be serious, hard drama. He didn't desire cartoonish colors or joke humor. He desired to portray pain, loneliness, and struggle. Initially, the producers did not take him seriously and anticipated something along the lines of the 1960s Batman. But when the pilot episode was broadcast on November 4th, 1977, everybody was taken aback. It was more like a horror movie, and the melancholy piano music and black shadows set the tone for it. Bixby acted out Dr. David Banner as a genuine man submerging in guilt. That pilot was CBS's top-rated TV movie of the year, and bingo, Bixby made his point. The entire series began on March 10th, 1978, and continued through May 12th, 1982, with 80 episodes altogether. It was a rough behind-the-scenes job. Lou Ferrigno, who played the Hulk, spent 3.5 to 4 hours getting made up every day. For the pilot, he sat for 20 hours continuously. After makeup, he even had to perform for another 12 to 14 hours in costume. He couldn't even wash the paint off his skin. They had to get a special shower into his trailer, and 2 assistants would wash his back. Some weeks they worked 3 long days, and other times they worked 7 days straight. His green makeup irritated skin, and the appliances on his face felt like sticky jelly on his skin. The makeup department changed multiple times. It wasn't pleasant, but even while all that was going on, Bixby wasn't simply acting, he was directing episodes as well. In 1981, he directed the 2-part episode entitled The First, which would be one of the most moving in the series. The same year, something remarkable occurred that would transform Bixby's life. On March 4th, 1981, he was skiing at Mammoth Lakes with his 6-year-old son, Christopher. The child contracted a sudden throat infection. In the hospital, the doctor was engaged in extricating a splinter from someone else's finger while Christopher waited. By the time they attempted to put in a breathing tube, it was too late. Christopher succumbed to cardiac arrest and passed away. Later, Bixby explained, "My son choked to death while the doctor was extracting a splinter from the finger of another doctor." That loss devastated him. He added that he was consumed by anger for 2 years and could not think sensibly. Only slightly more than a year after that, on April 7th, 1982, Christopher's mother, actress Brenda Benet, took her life. She was 36. She lit candles, crawled into the bathroom, and fired a .38 revolver. Bixby and Benet had been divorced the previous year. She had been drowning in sadness, friends said, since their son's death. She had just broken up with someone only 2 weeks earlier, and it was too much. Bixby lost his child and his ex-wife